Tonight, the Harris-Walz campaign is struggling to resonate with real men. All that and more on episode number 92 of Up to Speed with Trip Simpson.
The following program is rated TV MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audience.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Art. A to the RT. So many niggas want beef, go to Arby's. Not too many rappers in this game that can stop me feeling cocky. Cause my flow hella stocky. Yeah, and I does this shit. Flow sick, something like when your two cousins kiss. Ill. And y'all niggas know who run this shit. They out of breath. Tell the coach I need 100 bricks. Let me cook them in the oven quick. Take them out when these percussions kick. Yeah, and it was never really a discussion, kids. Trade you to another team like the Russians did. Whoa, what the bitches that be sucking dick? Hit me up, you know I love that shit. Yeah, and it's all go when I touch that bitch. Pass it to me, watch me clutch that shit. Swish, swish.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Up to Speed with Trip Simpson. I am your host, Trip Simpson, in the building.
The first of his name, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm.
That's right. And before we get into tonight's live stream, first and foremost, you know we got to handle business. Let's get it.
Family moving up in the business. I know you're going to look after family.
What family you talking about, Ice?
Fuck, I look invisible, nigga.
That's right. I am not invisible. So do me a favor. If you're watching live on YouTube, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button for me. If you're watching live on X, hit that heart button. Hit that retweet button for me. And if you're watching live on Facebook and Instagram, hit that like button, hit that share button. Also, no matter what platform you're watching this episode on tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we like to remind you to please comment in the live chat below. Commenting in the live chat below, along with hitting the like button, helps to get the video off further into the algorithm. Now, got a couple things I want to talk about tonight. First up, we have MSNBC host Joe Scarborough in a state of panic over the possibility of Donald Trump winning the 2024 election. Now, before we get into this video, I want to show you guys a recent video that I came across. It's of an MSNBC producer admitting that MSNBC is intentionally dumbing down their audience and that they are in fact paid shills for the Democratic Party. Now, in this video, brought to you courtesy of the O'Keefe Media Group, and when you get a chance, go to their channel and subscribe. Great content on there. And also, let me explain what they do. What they do is they go on dating sites and they set up undercover cameras with prominent figures in the political, sports, and mainstream media worlds, and they see if they can get these people to spill the beans, right? It's crazy. So, without wasting any more time, let's get to the videotape. Let's go. Oh, shit. What I just
at a rally in Pennsylvania.
All right, let's go back. Here we go.
MSNBC is the Democratic Party's mouthpiece.
Here we go.
So do you feel like MSNBC is doing enough to help the Harris campaign?
I mean, they're doing all they can.
Meet Basil Hampton,
a writer and producer for MSNBC's weekend show, Iman. Basil also reveals that, quote, what her message of the day is their MSNBC's message of the day.
What have they done to help the Harris campaign?
Amplify her message. What her message of the day is their message of the day.
Hamden revealed that MSNBC is...
Now y'all see this. This is an actual producer for MSNBC on a date, drinking wine, or what he thinks is a date, telling you straight up.
The Democratic Party's mouthpiece and is doing anything to get Kamala elected. Hamden says this news network is indistinguishable from the Democratic Party.
So is MSNBC just like doing whatever it takes to get Kamala elected?
Yes. It hammers home the point that I'm making, that this news network is indistinguishable from the party.
Are they just the Democratic Party's mouthpiece?
Exactly.
MSNBC is the Democratic Party's mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Basil calls MSNBC viewers brainwashed and states that MSNBC made their viewers dumber over the years.
Viewers get mad at the guests or the host if the host were to criticize Democrats. They've made their viewers dumber over the years. I think brainwashing and...
Now, here you guys go. Now, everybody thinks I'm a crazy, whacked out Trump supporter every time I complain about MSNBC. But here you have it coming straight from the horse's mouth. This is a producer for the network telling you straight up, these people are 100% shills for the Democratic Party, and they're intentionally dumbing down their audience. They're doing this intentionally.
Dumbing down.
It's bad.
Aggressive.
I get it.
Helps Trump.
When she's delivering these messages now, I think she keeps getting better.
Kamala Harris is telling the truth. The hate campaign against Kamala Harris has begun. They purposefully pronounce her name wrong.
But as a black woman, the product of a mixed marriage, she's an inspiration.
I don't know, Nicole, vote for her or don't vote for her, but isn't it great to just have a positive conversation right now?
Last week, we saw Vice President Kamala Harris's first mainstream media solo interview of her presidential run with MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhle. Many people were stating how much of a softball interview it was. Here's a clip from that.
I just want to ask you yes or no. At any point in your life, have you served 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, on a sesame seed bun?
Oh my God, this woman is so cringe, man.
Working at a McDonald's, yes or no? That's it.
I have.
Okay.
With that, OMG decided to look into MSNBC and their cozy relationship with the vice president. Meet Basil Hamden, a writer and producer for MSNBC's weekend show, Iman. Hamden's background includes working at the Huffington Post as a news director and being the executive producer for Michael Moore. Basil met our OMG American swiper on the dating app Bumble and divulged about his job to our undercover journalist.
Remind me where you work?
Right now, I'm working at MSNBC.
What do you do? What's your title?
Writer, producer. So I a live news show on the weekends.
Okay, what is it called?
Amen. Yeah,
I've heard of that.
Basil Hamden, producer at MSNBC, states that MSNBC is helping the Kamala Harris campaign, stating they are, quote, amplifying her message. Basil also reveals that, quote, what her message of the day is their MSNBC's message of the day.
So do you feel like MSNBC is doing enough to help the Harris campaign?
I mean, they're doing all they can.
Which is what? What have they done to help the Harris campaign?
Amplify her message. What her message of the day is their message of the day.
Does anyone really trust the healthcare system? Well, thankfully, there still are some good guys left in healthcare.
Let me skip over this. He's got some commercials going on here real quick, but you guys get the point. Let's go. All right.
First aid medical emergency Hamden revealed that MSNBC is the Democratic Party's mouthpiece.
Here we go.
And is doing anything to get Kamala elected. Hamden says this news network is indistinguishable from the Democratic Party.
What you were saying earlier, that the MSNBC aligns too closely with the Democratic Party line.
Yeah, so they're often saying the same exact things. The type of people who work in Democratic politics and in the campaign are a lot of the same type of people that would appear on air on MSNBC. It hammers home the point that I'm making, that this news network is indistinguishable from the party.
Are they just the Democratic Party's mouthpiece?
Exactly.
MSNBC is the Democratic Party's mouthpiece.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what else. I don't know what more else to say to you people. Let's go. We're going to play a little bit more than this, and we're going to move on.
Yes.
So is MSNBC just like doing whatever it takes to get Kamala elected?
Yes. Yes.
Even if there are like clear contradictions that would potentially alienate some of the viewers?
Yes, but unfortunately...
That's bad journalism, right?
It is, but unfortunately... they've made their viewers dumber over the years. Fortunately, they're not brainwashing people with racist propaganda like Fox, but particularly post-Trump, from Trump on, they've really narrowed their audience's mind to the point where even when guests go on their show to criticize Democrats, people get mad at the guests.
It begs the question, why isn't MSNBC's motto, the network indistinguishable from the Democratic Party? Per Basil Hamden, MSNBC is nothing more than a network that is solely based on helping the Democratic candidate, Kamala Harris. Just this week, MSNBC panelist Eddie Glaude stated Kamala Harris has to win, and if she doesn't, our young children in America will have the threat of being bombed at school because of Donald Trump.
We got to come out and try to figure out how to turn out in large historic numbers, because we got to keep this troglodyte out of office. Because if he comes in, our babies are going to be in danger. Because remember, those young children are going to grow up with the memory of having to not go to school for the threat of bomb.
Why is every black man on MSNBC a coward? Every black man that these people trot out on this station are effeminate. Either they're extremely effeminate, they're beta males, or they're cowards. Listen to this man. Listen to how scared he sounds of Donald Trump. Like, this is crazy, bro.
When she needs to bust him in his mouth. I'm saying it like that because he's dangerous. He's dangerous to particular people.
These are very peculiar people that are at MSNBC. Basil Hamden, producer at MSNBC, dives even further into how MSNBC hosts and guests are so in sync, they will finish each other's sentences.
Do you feel like MSNBC doesn't necessarily tell the truth?
I think they do from their perspective, yeah. They do.
But from like an objective standpoint?
It's very partisan Democrat. Their problem, and I think they would have a bigger audience, it would be if they were less tied to the Democratic Party itself. They should be progressive. They should tell the truth from a progressive perspective, but they shouldn't be tied to a political party.
How are they currently tied to the Democratic Party?
They just are way too cozy with Democratic politicians.
How? I can't tell.
If you watch an interview with a Democratic politician, they just finish each other's sentences. The anchor and the politician are just in total agreement about everything.
While investigating subjects, our OMG journalists always find that the subjects we investigate like to criticize or demean the very people they work for or entertain. Basil Hamden is no exception. Basil calls MSNBC viewers brainwashed and states that MSNBC made their viewers dumber over the years. Doesn't sound like they believe in their product.
They've made their viewers dumber over the years. Viewers get mad at the guests or the hosts if the hosts were to criticize Democrats.
Because they're so brainwashed.
Yes.
Into thinking that the Democratic Party can do no wrong.
Not that they can't do any wrong. It's maybe they can do wrong. I just don't want to hear about it. Don't say it out loud, because if you say it out loud, it helps Trump. I think brainwashing and dumbing down,
it's bad.
Aggressive.
I get it.
Helps Trump.
Well, here.
I mean, so there we have it. I mean, no need to beat a dead horse. No need to beat a dead horse. You know, let me say this, man. You know what's most alarming about this particular issue? You know what's most alarming? You could show this video to your average MSNBC viewer, and they still wouldn't believe it. That's the level of brainwashing these people have endured over the past decade. This man is literally admitting what those of us on this side of the aisle have been trying to tell you for a while now. MSNBC has zero credibility. MSNBC has zero credibility, and this is just more proof. Now, as I stated earlier, MSNBC reached a level of desperation at this point. And honestly, they're so desperate, I'm actually a little shocked. Now, I was watching a clip from the Joe Scarborough show. I think it's the morning show that they do on MSNBC, right? And he just looked so desperate when he was discussing the whole election situation. Now, it's crazy because it appears as if they know that their propaganda for the DNC isn't working. So now they're going to desperate measures. I want y'all to check this out real quick. Check out the panic in this man's face. Give me a second. All right, here we go.
We will begin with former President Trump, who on Saturday returned to the site of the first assassination attempt against him. Now, during that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, he and his allies accused Democrats of trying to kill him.
Over the past 8 years, those who want to stop us from achieving this future have slandered me, impeached me, indicted me, tried to throw me off the ballot, and who knows, maybe even tried to kill me. You know, I always say there's an enemy from within, and there's an outside enemy. And if you're smart, the outside enemy is not going to be a problem. Russia, China, North Korea, we're not going to have a problem if you have a smart president. If you have not such a smart president, then it's a problem. But we have an enemy from within, which I think is much more dangerous than the outside enemy.
First, they tried to silence him. When that didn't work, they tried to bankrupt him. When that didn't work, they tried to jail him.
Now, I want y'all to pay attention to what these guys are saying right now, because they're trying to say that what Trump, J.D. Vance, and Eric Trump are saying is inciting violence.
And with all the hatred they have spewed at President Trump, it was only a matter of time before somebody tried to kill him.
And then, guys, they tried to kill him. And it's because the Democratic Party, they can't do anything right. You see it this week in the FEMA response in North Carolina, and in Georgia, and in South Carolina, and in Florida.
This is a pivotal moment for our country. And I don't even have to tell anybody that here. We can all feel it. This is no longer a fight between Republican versus Democrat, left versus right. It is good versus evil. And good is going to win this battle, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, real quick, nothing that we just saw here is inciting any violence. It's, if anything, they're calling out the violence that's been taken out against Trump. But watch how MSNBC spins it. Now, keep in mind the clip that we just watched before this. Keep in mind, we just heard an MSNBC producer say that all they do is spin things the Democrats' way. They're here to basically do anything to get you not to see fault in Trump. Now watch this.
The level of un-American activity that you just saw is stunning. That is un-American. They know they're lying. Donald Trump knows that's a lie. He will tell you that the Secret Service, he thought, did the best job they could do. The fact that J.D. Vance and Trump's family would out and out say what they said takes the threat of violence, takes the threat beyond where it was even leading up to January this.
Now you guys see this. So Eric Trump can't even call out the fact that someone tried to murder his father twice. The mere notion of him with a complaint about it, according to MSNBC, will spark violence. This is desperation if I've never seen desperation in my life, bro. Check this shit out, man.
6. This is an increasingly desperate person, an increasingly desperate family who's preparing for civil war. They just are.
Yo, look at the shit they just throw out there. Honestly, I don't know how they get away with this. They're lucky that Trump hasn't filed a lawsuit against them yet. If he, maybe he has. I don't know. I know he filed one against ABC, but this is crazy, bro. And they wonder why people keep taking attempts at Trump's life. I mean, it's already a fact. The second shooter that they caught basically said it's because of what he saw on MSNBC that made him want to go after Trump. But they're trying to flip it and make it seem like the victim is the aggressor at this point.
Talking about they're trying to kill him. Democrats are trying to kill him. This is it, and the lies. Think about this. I saw part of Donald Trump's speech this weekend. It was remarkable, the lies. Not just on things this year, but even on policy. He'd just make up things and just throw it out there. And I'd be shocked if the audience was really that stupid to believe the crazy lies.
Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, just want to remind everybody, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that share button, share this video. If you're watching on Facebook and Instagram, also hit that like button, hit that share button. Thank you.
That he was thrown out there, but he does it so much. It is the falsehood, the firehood of falsehoods. But they continue lying about 2020. Vance continues lying about 2020. Trump continues lying about 2020. Senators will not say on Sunday news shows that Donald Trump lost in 2020, despite the fact Republican officials in every one of those states that mattered said that, yes, in fact, Donald Trump lost. Brian Kemp said it in Georgia. Republican officials said it in Michigan. Republican officials said it in Pennsylvania. They said it in Arizona. They have said it repeatedly. Trump and Vance lying about people of Ohio eating dogs and cats. And yet the governor of Ohio, the Republican governor of Ohio,
they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. Eat the cat, eat the cat. Eat the cat, eat the cat.
All right, real quick, let's continue.
Lifelong Republican, telling them to stop, that it is a lie. And now with the people of the Carolinas suffering in a way that only those who have gone through tragic hurricanes like Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Camille. All
right, so there we have it, man. This man is rambling on and on. Like I said, look how desperate they look. They really expect people to believe that Trump is the evil one here, even though it's actually Trump who's had to endure all the attacks they claim he's plotting. It's Trump that was unfairly targeted by the Department of Justice. It's Trump who was facing several lawsuits that could have bankrupted him. It's Trump who's had two attempts on his life. And it's in fact Trump who was wrongfully accused of rigging an election. Now, what's crazy to me is how incredibly biased this news network actually is. These people have the nerve to keep crying about Trump, Vance, and other Republicans being election deniers, when that's literally all the Democrats did after Trump won. They even made up a phony Russian collusion story out of thin air just to try to discredit Trump's 2016 victory. And after a thorough investigation, it was determined to be completely false. The Russia hoax, completely false. But you don't hear anyone on the left side of the mainstream media bringing that up. You don't believe me? Let's do a little refresher. I'm going to show you. I'm going to remind you. Let's go back to 2016, when Trump won. The entire left-wing mainstream media accused Trump of election fraud or of rigging the election. And they did not want to admit that he won. Let's get it.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
Now, we're not going to play this whole video because it's 24 minutes long, but I'm going to play enough so that it sinks in.
How can you win with Russian interference?
That's a real thing. But rightly.
Because I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win. So how do you fight against that in 2020?
You are absolutely right.
He's an illegitimate president in my mind.
Would you be my vice presidential candidate?
Folks, look, I absolutely agree.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election, and he was put in office because the Russians interfered.
Russia interfered with our election, attacked our democracy for the sole purpose of artificially placing someone at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They were successful.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president.
The president-elect, although legally elected, is not legitimate.
I don't see this president-elect as a legitimate president.
You said you believe that Russia's interference altered the outcome of the election.
I do. We have a president who, if in fact it is proven, has been assisted by the Russians and may in fact not be a legitimate president.
The one thing that Trump is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
I have an objection.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina. I object because people are horrified.
He's an illegitimate president.
Our election was hijacked. There was no question. Congress has a duty to hashtag protect our democracy and hashtag follow the facts.
John Lewis is completely right. There is a cloud of illegitimacy around the election of Donald Trump.
All right, so like I said, that's a 24-minute video of liberals and Democrats claiming that the 2016 election was stolen when there's clear-cut evidence that it wasn't. All right, I mean, this is damn near every liberal talking head denying the results of the 2016 election, and no one ever brings this back up. I mean, look. Like I said earlier, the whole Russia hoax, as Trump calls it, was a detailed plan by the left to try to overthrow the election. The same thing that they're accusing him of doing right now. All Trump did was question whether or not things were done fairly, and now they want to throw him in jail. How come they didn't throw Hillary in jail? How come they didn't throw Nancy Pelosi in jail for making up this whole shit about Russia? I mean, they launched a full-scale investigation into the fraudulent claims that Trump rigged the election. And no one had to answer for the false claims. No one had to answer for it. The whole Russia hoax, full-scale investigation, come to find out it was completely made up and there was no truth backing it. And nobody had to answer for it. But here it is, Trump complains about the 2020 election, and now you're trying to throw him in jail? Trying to give him 34 felonies for doing the same thing? Really not even the same thing, because what he did was not to the degree of what the Democrats did after he won. But it's all good because you know what? People are starting to wake up. People are starting to see right through the Democrats and their foolishness. American men are the main group of people who have appeared to pretty much abandon this political party. The unions, the tradesmen, Latino men, and black men have all taken monumental shifts in their support for the Democratic Party. I mean, at this point, I think it's like 50% of Latino men have sided with Trump. And that's just the ones who are willing to admit it. That number is probably much higher. Then we've got 20% of black men overall who are supporting Trump. And I know that number seems low. And yes, in the grand scheme of things, it might be. But you got to remember, 10 years ago, black men were around 94% in support of the Democratic nominee for president. It shrank a little bit with Hillary, but at this point, we're at 80%, which is 20% for Trump. Now, what's even more alarming for the Democrats is the fact that black men under 50, that's right, black men under 50, it's now reported that 26% of them are backing President Trump. And honestly, just like the Latino men, that number is probably somewhere around 40 to 45% because there are a lot of black men who just keep quiet because they don't want no smoke. A lot of black men are just keeping quiet because they don't want the smoke that comes with admitting to supporting Trump. Now, with these numbers being as critical as they are for the Harris campaign, you got to ask yourself, why isn't she trying to fix this? It's like instead of trying to stop the bleeding, they're focusing on groups who they already have in the bag. A perfect example would be the latest Kamala Harris scripted interview that she did on the Call Her Daddy podcast. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with this show, basically it's a podcast that focuses on women pleasing their partners with fellatio. That's right. You can't make this up. 1 month before the election, and the Democrat nominee, best known for sleeping her way to the top, is doing a show dedicated to sleeping your way to the top. Instead of trying to convince the men in the swing states that you need to win the election to vote for you, you choose to go on a show that caters to 304s. So anyway, without wasting any more time, let's get to the videotape. All right.
At a rally in Pennsylvania, former President Trump recently told women, "You will be protected, and I will be your protector." What do you make of that?
So he who, when he was president, hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did just as he intended, and there are now 20 states with Trump abortion bans, including bans that make no exception for rape or incest, which we just discussed, which means that you're telling a survivor of a crime of a violation to their body they don't have a right to make a decision about what happens to their body next, which is immoral. So this is the same guy that is now saying that. This is the same guy who said that women should be punished for having abortions. This is the same guy who uses the kind of language he does to describe women. So, yeah, there you go.
Oh my God, bro. This broad is so dumb. Let's go.
I do want to focus on abortion for a moment because 2 years ago, Roe v. Wade was overturned and women lost their constitutional right to an abortion. I put out an
First of all, abortion is not a constitutional right. I don't know why people keep saying that. They're constitutional right. You do not have constitutional rights to delete your children. You do not. You do not. The only reason that deleting your child is legal was because of a court case that happened in the 1970s. Let's go.
Episode about it. I flew to North Carolina. Yeah. I went to a preferred women's health center. I met with women that were getting screamed at and chanted at and called baby killers. And it was the most eye-opening experience I've ever had because I am a privileged white woman that lives in Los Angeles and I am so aware of that. I understand that a lot of the younger generation sees things online and is like, what is right, what is wrong, what is real, what is not. Can you explain and talk about what is actually happening to abortion access right now in this country?
Yeah. So again, I thank you for what you've been doing and at the earliest stage of this and following the stories. So, you know, on public policy, I often tell my team, look, I don't want to hear about public policy is a fancy kind of speech or paper. Tell me how it'll affect a real person. So let's talk about how it affects a real person. The majority of women who receive abortion care are mothers. So if she's in a state, and by the way, every state in the South, except for Virginia, has an abortion ban, okay? So imagine she's in a state with an abortion ban. 1 out of 3 women are, by the way, in our country. And she's a mom. So she's going to have to figure out, one, God help her if she has affordable childcare. God help her if she has paid leave. And then she's going to have to go to the airport, stand in a TSA line, sit on a plane next to a perfect stranger to go to a city where she's never been to receive the care she needs. She's going to probably have to get right back on that plane because she's got those kids. Her best friend's probably not with her because that's who's taking care of the kids. To get back in that TSA line, to get back on a plane, to go home.
And that's all if they can even afford the plane ticket or the bus ticket.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because when Roe v. Wade was overturned, I remember...
Now, really? Really? I cannot believe that this is the conversation, right? So they're basically like, what is she supposed to do, right? What is this mom supposed to do? I'll tell you what she's supposed to do. Stop effing around. Close your legs and focus on your children. Use a rubber. Take birth control. Stop giving up raw coochie to men who you aren't committed to. There are a plethora of things you could do to keep from dodging your God-given responsibility as a woman. This is insane. Like, this is insane, bro. She's actually trying to make the sexual, irresponsible ways of a lot of women, she's trying to turn them into victims. You're irresponsible with your coochie. It's not our fault. Weren't smart enough to use one of the plethora of things you could have used to prevent getting pregnant. Now we're supposed to feel sorry for you because you're too lazy to use contraceptive? You're too lazy to track your ovulation? And now we're supposed to feel sorry for you because you got to get on a plane just to go delete your kid. I don't feel sorry for you at all. I do not.
Remember, my DMs were flooded with thousands of women begging me to help. And it's overwhelming. And I can't even imagine, I'm saying that in front of you, but it's overwhelming. And I remember people begging me like, I just need to afford a bus ticket so I can get out of this abortion desert that I live in the South so I can get to...
Abortion desert. Bro, yo, I'm telling you, man, it has just gotten crazy in this country, man. It has gotten crazy. This is why I am a fan of Project 2025. A lot of things need to be cut off at the root. I'm a fan of Project 2025. I wish they would enact it. Unfortunately, that's not what Trump is running on. But I wish he was.
A state, but they can't even afford, you know what I mean? So it's like these people are literally landlocked into a position that they don't want to be.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing is that
how did they put themselves in that position? Why does no one ever ask that? How did they put themselves into this position? If you know you live in Tennessee and there's an abortion ban past 6 weeks, what should you do? Make sure the guy uses a rubber. Get on birth control. Do something.
you don't have to abandon your faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government shouldn't be telling her what to do. If she chooses, she'll talk to her priest, her pastor, her rabbi, her imam, but not the government telling you what to do. And that's what's so outrageous about it, is a bunch of these guys up in these state capitals are writing these decisions because they somehow have decided that they're in a better position to tell you what's in your best interest than you are to know what's in your own best interest. It's outrageous.
It's outrageous. I mean, Daddy Gang, to put it in our TikTok terms, I have seen girls on the street walk up to men and be like, do you know where a tampon goes? Do you know how many tampons we use? Do you even know how, do you know what a X or Y or Z is of a part of our, and they don't know the answer.
I was the first vice president or president to ever in office go to a reproductive health care clinic.
And on that note, I mean, bro, it is what it is. I don't understand how this helps her campaign. We get it. You're all for deleting children. But how does this convince blue-collar men in Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Wisconsin that you're capable of getting inflation lowered? This entire interview was a prime example of the ungrateful entitlement that a significant portion of the women in our society unfortunately possess. Let's be honest. American women are the most spoiled and entitled women in the entire world. They literally get everything they want, and they still complain as if they're getting stoned in the streets like women in Afghanistan or something. You get all the same benefits as men without having to sacrifice half as much as we do. It's crazy. It's like you want all the benefits of being a man without dealing with the consequences. A great example of that is this exact conversation. A great example of that. They're talking about abortion. You want to sleep around like men, but when you F around and get knocked up, you can instantly dissolve yourselves of any responsibility. Do men have that right? No, we don't. Once we slip up, all the consequences are on us, and we have no say, absolutely no say in the situation. So if you think the average man with a medium level of testosterone gives two shits about you and your reproductive right to opt out of your sexual consequences, you got another thing coming. You got another thing coming. The issues that matter to us are the economy, inflation, immigration, foreign affairs, and energy costs. All that other noise is on the back burner. So yeah, Kamala's definitely dropped the ball big time. I mean, even her VP pick, which she chose to try to appeal to normal men, or normal white men, but that was a complete disaster. They just threw this clown under the bus and to the wolves and had him on an interview with Fox News. And of course, just like we figured, he got scorched. So we're going to check this video out, and then after that, we're going to take some calls. All right, so let's go to this Fox News video of Tim Walz. Here we go.
Joining us now, Democratic Vice Presidential nominee, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Governor, great to have you with us on Fox News Sunday.
Great to be with you, Shannon. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I want to pick up where Alexis left off there in the Middle East, because you were asked in the debate the other night a question about whether or not you would support a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran. You didn't really get to an answer on that. So this administration continues to call for Israel to moderate its response after being attacked by Iran. Do you now think that Israel has a right to either strike oil facilities, nuclear facilities? What's your position on that?
Well, look.
Now watch this. He's just like Kamala. He's not going to answer the question. He's going to dance around it, use a bunch of word salads, and basically stay neutral in the situation. Watch.
Let's remember how this started, and we're approaching tomorrow a tragic anniversary. Hamas terrorists murdered over 1,200 innocent Israelis, 46 Americans, took hostages. We have been clear. Israel has the right to defend itself. We've always stood in that position. We need the hostages returned, and we need to bring an end to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. But again, the point is it's Iran is at the heart of this, and their proxies that bring disruption throughout the region. That's why being in the Situation Room as Vice President was working with Israelis to repel the attack we saw this week. They tried it back in April, the same thing. And that's the point of being and boxing Iran in.
Nigga, answer the question.
President Trump tore up the nuclear deal that moved Iran closer to a nuclear weapon. He also allowed Iran to shoot down an American aircraft in international airspace with a tweet. And when Iranian missiles fell on U.S. troops, he called it a headache when it was traumatic brain injury. Just to be clear, we have always said we reserve the right to protect American troops, our allies in the region, and that there is consequences for Iran. So what you're seeing right now is the ability to work with our allies, the ability to make sure Iran does not further, and every administration has dealt with them for 45 years. Now it's to make sure, and there has never been a question, Israel has the right to defend itself, and we stand with them to do that. But we need to bring this to a conclusion.
Do you think we should attack Iran's nuclear facilities?
Does that include a strike on Iran's nuclear or oil facilities?
Specific operations will be dealt with at the time, but being very clear on this, Iran, there is consequences for what they do. That's what's happening right now. Israel's right to defend itself is not in question.
Okay, you said in a radio interview that anti-Israel protesters were speaking out, quote, for all the right reasons. You know that some of them are carrying Hamas flags. Some of them are calling for the extermination of the Jewish state. Do you want to clarify your praise for that?
Well, I'm certainly not talking about them. I'm talking about the people who understand that we have to end the humanitarian crisis.
So, okay, let me explain this. Here's the difficult situation that he's in, right? He can't give a definite answer either way. Because I can't remember the name of the political action committee that I think it's called AIPAC or something. Anyway, the Democratic Party is funded by Israel, right? So he can't really say anything negative about Israel. But at the same time, a good portion of their party that's extremely to the left are pro-Hamas and pro-Palestine. So he can't really give a clear answer either way, because whatever he says is going to be disastrous for him, right? Whatever he says, it's going to be disastrous for him on either side of the aisle. So he's got to say silly, neutral shit. This is what I'm saying. He's not a leader and Kamala's not a leader, because Trump is clear. Trump's clear where he stands on this situation. And sometimes you got to put your foot down. And unfortunately for Tim Walz, they threw him under the bus to have to take these questions. Meanwhile, Kamala is on Sex Podcast talking about foolishness. Let's go.
They understand we need to return the hostages, bring peace to the region. Look, I will always defend people's rights to First Amendment, but that's not the folks I'm talking about. Those folks are not speaking for the entire group. So I think it's very clear on this. Israel's right, as we've stood with them. Anti-Semitism has no place in this country, and Vice President Harris has been clear about that. I've been clear about it. But the ability to bring a peaceful solution and understand Israel's right to defend itself, the return of the hostages, and Gazans' right to live in peace too is something that we're trying to get to. And that's going to take the leadership that we've seen out of Vice President Harris, able to hold this coalition together. And again, when Iran launched their missiles this week, she's in the Situation Room. That's different. The people who are in the Situation Room with Donald Trump, like John Kelly as chief of staff, said he shouldn't be there. He's a damaged human being. His own defense secretary said he does not understand the situation, is incapable of dealing with it. So it's about character.
Let's focus on what your position is and the vice president's position as well. I want to talk about abortion too, because this came up at the debate. It's been a winning argument for Democrats on many.
Now watch this. He's about to get cooked.
Ballots. But I want to clarify what the law is there in Minnesota. Abortion Finder, a website that helps women find access, says abortion is legal throughout pregnancy in Minnesota. There is no ban or limit on abortion in Minnesota based on how far along in a pregnancy you are. You signed the bill that makes it legal through all 9 months. Is that a position you think Democrats should advocate for nationally?
Look, the vice president and I have been clear. The restoration of Roe versus Wade is what we're asking for.
But that
this
law
is a
goes
woman's
far
right
beyond Roe v. Wade.
to make her own choice. The law is very clear. It does not change that. That has been debunked on every occasion.
But wait,
let's
agree. What you signed is there's not a single limit through 9 months of pregnancy. Roe had a trimester framework that did have limits through the pregnancy. The Minnesota law does not have that.
This puts.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
This puts the decision with the woman and her healthcare providers. The situation we have is when you don't have the ability of healthcare providers to provide that, that's where you end up with a situation like Amanda Zaworski in Texas, where they are afraid to do what's necessary. This doesn't change anything. It puts the decision back on to the woman, to the physicians, and we know that this is simply something to be brought up to be very clear. Donald Trump's asking for a nationwide abortion ban.
Wait,
and again, we don't see this as a winning campaign.
Another lie. Donald Trump has repeatedly said that he doesn't want to, he's not going to sign a nationwide abortion ban. But this is what they do. They just lie and lie and lie. They see what they throw at the shit at the wall and see if it sticks.
That he will not sign a national abortion ban. Are you calling that just, it's a flat out lie?
Yes, of course. And Senator Vance has in the past said so too. Now look, they may see this as an election issue. We see it as a right of women to make their own bodily decisions. And that's what the states like my state have the ability to put that in. States like Georgia force women to cross the border, and then we have a death of Amber Thurman. So let's be very clear. Trying to cut hairs on an issue on this is not where the American public's at. They want the restoration of Roe versus Wade. Vice President Harris said she would sign it. That's what we'll do when we're elected.
But to be clear, the Minnesota law is far beyond Roe v. Wade. And about the Amber Thurman case in Georgia, her family has, and it's tragic, she is a young mother who left behind a young son. But what her family has said is it was a complication from an abortion pill that she received, and she didn't get proper care when she went to a Georgia hospital, which had multiple opportunities to intervene there. Her own attorney, the family's attorney, says it wasn't the Georgia law, it was the hospitals. What he claims is malpractice, not treating her when she clearly showed up in distress and still had the byproducts of her pregnancy because of that rare complication from the abortion pills.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
I mean, bro, she's literally stating facts. And he's still shaking his head. No. I'm telling you, all these people do is lie, bro.
So just to be clear on the Georgia law and how her family and her attorney sees it.
I think they also indicated that had she not go to North Carolina after the debate the other night, that she would have been in a better position. So look, these are the situations you're going to get into when you take this decision and put it in the hands of politicians like Donald Trump rather than women and their doctors. We trust women, we trust doctors, and we know the outcomes of that are better.
Okay, let's clarify more changes that you signed in Minnesota as well. Several things were repealed with respect to reporting infants who may have survived an abortion attempt. Language that used to be part of the statute was taken out. We'll put this on the screen so people can see. It used to require medical personnel to, quote, preserve the life and health of the born alive infant. That language has been repealed. It's no longer part of the law. Also struck from the law was language about reporting infants that are born alive, what treatment they receive, and whether they live or die. Why was it important to you to get that protection out of the law?
Minnesota law aligns with every other case of what physicians are
again not answering the question
required by their ethical responsibilities, and so it changed nothing other than aligning with all care that physicians provide in any circumstance for any medical case. And so it's alignment as it's always been. It's the cases we've seen in Minnesota, the outcomes we get in our healthcare results are the best in the nation, and all it did was align with existing law.
But you do acknowledge it takes out the language about preserving the life of an infant who was born alive.
Every doctor has an ethical responsibility to provide what they can in each situation.
He won't acknowledge it.
That is the way the law is written now. It's the same for any person who shows up. And again, this is a distraction from the real issue here is women being forced into miscarriages, women being forced to go back home, get sepsis, potentially die, like we saw in cases in Texas. And maternal mortality rates in Texas have skyrocketed off the charts because of this. This is bad policy. Vice President and I have been very clear on this. We will restore the rights of Roe versus Wade. We will make sure women have their health care decisions. We will not put people's lives at risk because of the geography of where they live. And it will go back to the way it was before Donald Trump gleefully said, we've got the best of both worlds here. Things are wonderful. The states are handling it. It's a beautiful thing. It's not a beautiful thing to see women dying. It's not a beautiful thing to put doctors at risk of being imprisoned.
It is not. It is not to see any single woman suffer. And by the way, there's not a single state, no matter how pro-life or restrictive their laws are, that do not allow a doctor to intercede. That's true in Georgia and Texas as well. I want to turn to the economy. Our latest polling shows that 66% of Americans we talked to said that buying groceries is a, quote, major problem for them. And when we ask people about how they feel about the policies of this administration versus the previous, double the amount of people surveyed say that Biden-Harris policies have hurt them rather than help them and their families economically. That's in stark contrast to how they feel when asked about the Trump administration. So what would a Harris-Walz administration do different than a Biden-Harris administration when it comes to convincing people that the economy is going to get better?
Another direct question
for them, because their perception is that it's not.
Well, we saw a blockbuster jobs report this week. We saw interest rates come down, and we've also seen that Vice President Harris laying out a middle-class agenda. Look, I was in Ohio yesterday, in Cleveland, in Cincinnati, and talking about this. Folks in Ohio know that Donald Trump's policies led to 180,000 manufacturing jobs leaving. They understand when he left office, we had more people unemployed percentage-wise than the Great Depression. What Vice President Harris is talking about is making it more affordable to buy housing. And we've seen it in Minneapolis. When you have more housing stock, we've seen rates go down. We've seen more houses available. Also, the idea of price gouging. 37 states, Republican and Democratic states, have this. Corn is about $4.10 or so a bushel. That's where it's been for many years, up and down. But prices at the grocery stores have skyrocketed, corporate profits have skyrocketed, and people are paying more. So we talk about that.
Okay, what does the price of a bushel of corn have to do with the question? How is the Harris-Walz administration going to differ from the Biden administration? Because it's clear that the American people, by far, or in majority, believe that the Biden-Harris administration has hurt the economy. They are displeased with it. What is the difference? He still has not answered the question.
And then I think the fundamental difference here is Donald Trump kept his promise. He cut taxes for the wealthiest.
Now he's going back to Donald Trump. She didn't ask you about Donald Trump. She asked you what's going to be the difference between what we have now and day one of your presidency / vice presidency. Again, it always goes back to Donald Trump. It always goes back to the boogeyman. Instead of taking responsibility and accountability for what they will do and what they have done, they put it all on Donald Trump, even when there's no way to blame him here. This woman literally brought out the facts. Here's what the American people think. They think the Harris-Biden administration sucked ass when it came to the economy. What are you going to do different? Well, Donald Trump did this and it. And this is why their campaign is tanking. This is why in all the swing states, or the majority of the swing states, Donald Trump is the favorite. And everybody knows the swing states decide the election. And where it stands right now, in Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Michigan, in Ohio, what do you have there? You have a lot of working men, right? You have a lot of hard working men that don't have college degrees, right? That's going to be your majority of men in the state. And right now, those men are heavily towards Donald Trump. The unions aren't endorsing Kamala Harris, and normally they always endorse every single Democratic candidate. As a matter of fact, I'm a member of the IAFF, which is the International Association of Firefighters, right? It's the biggest firemen's union in the country, maybe even in the world. They typically always endorse the Democratic nominee. This year, they did not endorse Kamala Harris. Same thing with the Teamsters. They did not endorse Kamala Harris. They did a poll with working men who are in the trades, electricians, carpenters, crane operators, mechanics, right? Police, firemen. They did a poll with these men. Overwhelmingly, they support Trump. But continuously, you have Harris and Walz keep coming on TV, not answering the questions. The men want to hear the answer to the question. We don't want to hear your word salad and your backtracking and your accountability shift to Trump. What are you going to do to fix this mess that you essentially started? That's what we want to know.
She's talking about making sure things like a child tax credit, $6,000 child tax credit, put more money in people's pocket, making sure that we're able to buy those things, whether it's a crib or it's baby formula, get started. And she's simply asking that we can pay for it by asking those at the top to pay their fair share. This is a fundamental difference in approaches to it, and we're seeing it working. We're seeing economists talk about Donald Trump's proposal to add a 20% sales tax will cost $4,000. Okay. That's everybody. That's not me saying it.
And just to note, that is a tariff, which, by the way, this administration not only kept most of the Trump tariffs, but they added their own as well. So that's got to be part of the conversation. I want to talk a little.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
I mean, over and over again, bro. This guy continues to stick his foot in his mouth. He continues to stick his foot in his mouth, and instead of just taking accountability and saying, you know what, maybe we did screw up here and there. No. He gives another word salad and he says, okay, how can I bring this back to Trump? It's not working, man. People can see through it.
A little bit about your record as governor, because it elucidates for people how you may serve as whether you end up being the president. You'll be one heartbeat away should your ticket be successful. Wall Street Journal says this after you were chosen to join the ticket. As the Democratic governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz signed into law initiatives allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's licenses, qualify for free tuition at state universities, and enroll in the state's free healthcare program for low-income residents. Are those not magnets to draw people here, many times on dangerous journeys for themselves? And why should your taxpayers in Minnesota or across the states pay for those programs?
Well, that's not the vice president's position, but I will say this. Minnesota ranks as a top 5 business state. We rank as a top 3 state for children living, and we're the top state for healthcare access. I would also add this. We also have some of the safest roads. Look, the vice president has made it clear that she has policies that make a difference. Her border policies are the most strongest, the fairest we've seen.
It's you know, a lot of people, including your own party, would not join that statement. There are millions of people who have come here over the last few years that, you know, they see this as an open policies.
Well, simply, we have a policy. Donald Trump sees it as a political. Look, James.
Back to Donald Trump. Back to Donald Trump.
Frankfurt in Oklahoma, the Border Patrol agents, the Wall Street Journal, the Chamber of Commerce, all said pass this legislation. You have to have Congress to authorize 1,500 new border agents. You have to have Congress to authorize DOJ to speed adjudications on these asylum claims. Those are things that would actually work. Donald Trump told us for 4 years he would deal with this. He didn't. He didn't build his wall, 2%. Mexico didn't pay for it. This is a real bill.
Now, here's another lie, right? And I'm glad he brought that up because, first off, here's the difference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, whoever. So Donald Trump promised to build a wall, and he said he wanted to get Mexico to pay for it. And he said he was going to get the wall done. Now, when Trump and the Republicans tried to get the Congress and the Senate to pass legislation funding the wall, the Democrat-led Congress denied it. They denied it. So what did Trump do? Trump allocated $15 to $16 billion from somewhere else in the budget, put it towards the wall, and what did he do? He did what a president has the right to do. He made an executive order and got the wall started. He got 200 miles of the wall up. 80 or so miles fully built. And as soon as Joe Biden got into office, he canceled the wall. He ended construction. So it's just funny to me how they turn around and try to say, well, Trump didn't do what he said he was going to do. Well, Trump tried to do it. The Democrats blocked him. So what did he do? As a leader, as a president, he made an executive order and got the shit done. Now, look at Biden-Harris. They want to blame Congress as to why they can't seal the border that they unsealed. This is nonsense. With the strike of a pen, the border could be sealed right now if Joe Biden wanted to, but he doesn't want to. That's why it's not sealed. It's as simple as that, an executive order. That's all that has to be done. But you know why they're not going to do it? Because their whole plan is to keep letting illegals in, because that's how they're going to win elections in the future. At least that's what they think. That's what they think. But one thing they don't realize about a lot of these immigrants, once they get settled in America and start building families, their morals are going to kick in, and they're going to realize, I don't want to vote for these people. Look at the Latino community. Look at the Latino community. The Latino community votes less Democrat than the black community. The Latino community is 60-40, 50-50 with the Democrats and Republicans. Why is that? You would think that with the way the Democratic Party caters to them, you would think that they would be 100% on with Democrats, but they're not, because they have morals. They have a sense of family. So yeah, nobody in their right mind, especially somebody who's family oriented, right, is going to go with the shit the Democrats do. Now, black people do it. Why? Because we're not family oriented. We're not family oriented. The black community is a bastardized community led by women. These immigrant communities, now granted, I'm not saying I want them here illegally, but what I am giving them credit, because their households are still led by men. They got more sense than that. But anyway, I'm rambling. Let's get back to the video.
That has bipartisan support, it has the experts on board, and it starts to tackle these issues. And we don't have to resort to demonizing people. We don't have to resort to making up or crafting stories, as Senator Vance said he did. Those things were not happening in Springfield, but it doesn't mean that we can't pass a piece of legislation to strengthen our border. That's what Kamala Harris is talking about.
Well,
She's talking
Governor,
about solving the problem.
That piece of legislation does include the wall that you guys have been so, you've disparaged that. I mean, the vice president has as well. So I don't know if she really intends to move forward with that. But it was negotiated by 3 or 4 senators, and many Republicans came out against it long before President Trump indicated he didn't like it either. Listen, before we go, because I wish that we had a full hour, I want to give you a chance, because you called yourself a knucklehead this week, to talk about some of your misstatements. Yeah. You've modified your story or explained that you misspoke about things involving your military rank, about carrying a weapon in war, your 1995 DUI arrest, using IVF to have your beautiful children, Gus and Hope, being in Hong Kong and China in the summer of 1989 during the Tiananmen events, A lot of people would say they couldn't get away with saying, I'm just too passionate, my grammar's not right, I'm a knucklehead. What do you say to the American people who think, I don't know that I can trust this guy?
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
Cooking his ass. Let's go.
All those modifications to be the potential commander-in-chief of this country.
Yeah, well, I think they heard me. They heard me the other night speaking passionately about gun violence and misspeaking. And I got to be honest with you, Shannon, I don't think people care whether I used IUI or IVF when we talk about this. What they understand is Donald Trump would resist those things. Look,
that's a lie. Donald Trump is on the record saying he's for IVF. The lies that these people just keep spewing is crazy, bro.
Look, I speak passionately. I had an entire career, decades before I was in public office. They know, and I'm very proud of my 24 years in service and my record. I have never disparaged someone else in this, but I know that's not what Donald Trump does. They disparage everyone, the personal attacks. I will own up when I misspeak. I will own up when I make a mistake. Let's be very clear. On that debate stage the other night, I asked one very simple question, and Senator Vance would not acknowledge that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. I think they're probably far more concerned with that than my wife and I used IUI to have our child, and that Donald Trump would restrict that. So I think folks know who I am. My constituents here in Minnesota have elected me 8 times. They know where I'm at, and I'm proud to be on the ticket, and we'll deliver just like we have here in Minnesota.
Right. And if we're going to deal in truth, both the president, the former president, and his nominee have said that they are very supportive of IVF. We are glad you have your precious family. We thank you for serving in uniform and your years and decades as a teacher. My mom was too. I know it's really hard work and sometimes very thankless.
All right. So, once again, here we have Tim Walz looking ridiculous, half answering the questions and getting caught with his pants down once his ideas are factually challenged. Literally every point he just tried to make was easily debunked, especially with the story about the woman who allegedly died because she couldn't get care for an abortion. I mean, it's easily Googleable that her family and the lawyer, they came out and they stated that it had nothing to do with the Georgia state laws, by the way, which have been changed to 22 weeks as opposed to the 6 weeks. But instead, it was a defective pill that she took that caused her to bleed out. But honestly, none of that even matters because Donald Trump has stated time after time after time he's not going to sign an abortion ban. It's up to the states and to the people of those states to decide how they want to handle it. But anyways, what I want to do is I want to go to a quick commercial break. I'm going to put the link to call in the chat, and I'll take any calls if anybody wants to call. If anybody doesn't, that's great. We can go ahead and close out the show, and I can get on with my night. So
Governor,
let me see real quick. Let me go ahead and put this link in the chat. All right. One second, y'all. Oops. Damn. All right, so I got it pinned to the top. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, if anyone hits that link, I will be glad to hear what they have to say. All right, so let's go.
Violent crime is surging in Louisiana. Woke leaders blame the police. I blame the criminals. A mom should not have to look over her shoulder when she's pumping gas. I voted against the early release of violent criminals, and I opposed defunding the police. Look, if you hate cops just because they're cops, the next time you get in trouble, call a crackhead. I'm John Kennedy, and I approve this message.
Beats Holyfield, it looks as though you've got a rematch with Buster. Some people think you'll stiff Alex Stewart and not fight him in December.
No, you shouldn't believe that at all, because you know why?
Because after I kick Stewart ass and give him a slow beating, nearly death, I'm going to take whoever's the win after that, the Holyfield Douglas fight, and then regain my title. And hopefully I can fight Ray the Ruddock or this other guy, George Foreman, before he die of, rigor mortis. Mike, you seem to be incensed about criticism that you've received. What's your feeling about the criticism? These guys never fought in their damn life, and still they're going to be they're psychologists and say, I'm a swami, and I could look at Mike Tyson's brain and I tell from by the way he's acting, this is what he's thinking, which is, And the only thing that's unbelievable is that the public believes this, And they believe this, and these guys are idiots. They never fought a day in their life, but these are the same guys that talk about me on television like I'm some brilliant moron. I don't see them on television. People don't tell me. They say, "Hey, Mike, how you doing? You look in great shape. You look good, man. Boy, please, man, have to get in my face and say, Mike, I think you're an individual." They can't say I'm a bum. I'm not a good fighter because 3.5 years and 11 defenses proved it. They can't say that. So they could just say, Mike, you're a hell of a fighter, but I think you're a dog. I hate your attitude. I hate what you stand for. Or whatever. Have the guts to say that.
Always confusion with Mike Tyson, who's standing by with Jim Gray. Jim?
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Steve. Mike, was that your shortest fight ever?
I bear witness there's only one God, and Muhammad's blessings and peace be upon him as his prophet. I dedicate this fight to my brother, Darabam, who died. I'll be there to see you. I love you with all my heart. All praise be to my children. I love you. God, man, what?
Is this your shortest fight ever? In any time, amateur, professional, ever?
Assalamu alaikum, Maida. I don't know, man. Yeah, Lennox Lewis. Lennox, I'm coming for you.
Mike, is it frustrating to train like you did and then have this in 7 or 8 seconds?
For this fight, I only trained probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks for this fight. I had to bury my best friend, and I dedicated this fight. I wasn't going to fight. I dedicated this fight to him. I was going to rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lennox is a conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody as ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from their cloth. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children. Praise be to Allah.
Are you saying now, Mike?
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn my back to you right now. And if you want to go on your own, then walk off and leave. If you want to stick together and make this thing work, when I turn around, we're going to shake hands. And we're going to go on a rock and roll like the rockers can do.
They need each other. You know that.
Sounds fair to me.
He's not going to walk away. They need each other.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Rockers!
Told you.
Glad to see that.
Told you.
Tag team specialists.
See, one without the other isn't any good. Oh, I knew he was going to do that. I just knew he was going to do that. He don't need Jannetty. I told you that off and on.
Are you kidding? What a despicable act that was.
No! Oh, my God.
Right through the glass window of the barber shop.
Jannetty tried to dive through the window to escape. Did you see that?
Are you blind?
What an act of cowardism. Oh, he's hurt. A plate glass window.
Oh, look at that. He's busted wide open. We need a paramedic here.
Is there a problem with the laws? They're done. They're finished, Monsoon.
Yeah, there's a problem.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and it does not look like we have any calls. So, on that note, listen, whether you agree, you disagree, or you're indifferent, do me a favor, leave a comment in the comments section below. Also, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, tap that notification bell, and select all. For myself and the rest of the crew here at Up to Speed with Trip Simpson and Trippin' Ain't Easy TV, peace out. Catch you on the next one.